Okay. Hey, did you figure out how to? I know you gave it some thought how to get some alert signals from Valto's thing yet?
Have not coded anything
Okay,
in. Right
okay.
now,
Hey,
it would be all
did you
Ninja
figure out how
Trader
to?
and what I want to see from his stuff. Right now, I'm still observing a lot of the signals.
Yeah, yeah. So you haven't had a chance to go through all the signals yet, though, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, not the way my schedule's been, either between sleeping or traveling right now. Nah.
What you say, sleeping?
Yeah, man, that's part of the schedule nowadays.
Ah. Yep.
But we look like we've got
Man,
got prices trying to push today
after
up
I
to the
put
upside.
yeah after I got in rhythm yesterday, I ended up doing okay. So that's I'm trying to make a comeback, man. I'm still I still got 630 dollars to make up and some change on the comeback after doing my little test results yesterday. Yep. Okay, man, what you looking at? What you looking at? I'm looking at we're in the
First
inside
things
day,
first.
leaning to the
Hey,
upside.
inside leaning to the upside, just according to the daily charts to start that off.
E-mini
We are
E-mini is leaning toward the upside. So is the Nasdaq, and so is the Dow. They're all these charts look almost the same, except the bonds. But yeah, the E-mini is leaning toward the upside.
trying to push out of these bands, man. Told you need to put some bands on your daily chart sometime.
I don't want to. I don't want to get. You know why I leave my daily blank? Because I just want to see pure price action on the daily. I think I'm training myself for the forex. Actually, that's what I'm doing. Kind of mentally training myself for the forex daily. So yeah, I just leave those charts, those daily charts blank.
Yeah, we're pushing kind of strong through the bands, which is a big sign of strength on the daily charts. And a lot of things have turned pretty negative, almost as if you would think about selling the pullbacks, or even on the dailies at this point. So it's a lot of, a lot of longer term strength to the downside. But right now, I think we really want to get away from these bands to make room for more of it if we were to do anything. What kind of news we got this morning?
9:45. You got the flash manufacturing PMI and flash services. What's the difference between flash manufacturing and flash services? They're both high impact.
One's the service industry and one's the manufacturing industry, man. Don't test my knowledge a little bit here.
I didn't know. I actually didn't know. All right, we got new home sales coming out at 10 o'clock, and the Richmond Manufacturing Index coming out at 10 o'clock. So that's medium, but the two coming out at 9:45. Might as well wait till about 10, a little after 10 before we start pulling trades, because see if things are going to get crazy. Just to see if things are going to get crazy before then. All right, man. What are you looking at on your 12R?
Today
I
we
know.
have started off in a 30-minute sell zone on the 12R. We're pushing up. We are making highs, but we have not made a new high since what time was that? Since yesterday's high. Haven't quite pushed out, but we're close on that. So I'm really kind of interested to see what kind of action we're going to get right now. All things at this point point to the upside. Almost if you're a pullback trader, buy the pullbacks. But everything at this point in time is showing a lot of strength. As far as the 12-hour footprint is concerned, kind of tough to say what we're doing except riding to the upside. Again, same thing on a smaller scale. I would be buying pullbacks. I would love to see something pull back into a smaller time frame, bottom Bollinger Band, which would give me some sort of indication of location that I like. But more than anything, 12R, I'd be waiting for some sort of pullback before I started in on this.
Cool.
A lot of pressure the last few bars to the upside. Caught an above 1,000 bar, so I'm always interested when I see 1,000 print on Delta or more.
What's your cum delta? Are our cum deltas matching?
Let's put it this way. I'm over the 7,000 area,
Yeah,
plus 7,300.
Right. I'm on my 12. I'm looking at 72, 36 and counting right now. So,
Yes, climb.
Yep.
Last close bar was plus 7104. So that number should be closer.
Mm-hmm. Well, mine is the correct number. Yours is a little off. We know you're getting that bad data over there. So cool. We're close though. We're within a couple of hundred, so that's not bad.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. Not bad at all.
Yeah, if I was getting minus 3,000 and you were getting plus 4,200, I think we would be having a problem there.
Yep. 4 minutes before the market opens. Yeah, man. I wanted you to run. I wanted you to run Valto's chart just to see how much you're missing those alerts, man. I think I'm gonna send him an email this evening and ask him about alerts one more time. Then too.
Some of the. Mm-hmm.
What was you gonna say?
I was just saying some of the action that happens on these bands, with Valto's charts, you really wish. I'm only running two things. In essence, as far as new signals on Valtos.
What you running?
And each of them, I'm running the accumulation distribution, which seems to be absolutely grand when it comes to pullbacks and setting up pivots. And I'm only running these on the pivots.
Right.
And it seems as though I'm running a divergence, and I'm just giving it a chance. You're running, I think, price action divergence. I'm running a delta divergence just to see where the signals are popping up. A lot of these signals are popping up after exhaustion, which is something that I'm interested in.
Right.
So it makes it an interesting story, but I have it on a chart that I'm running as an experiment, so I only see it after I look up. Because the chart's not in my actual eyesight where my main charts are.
Right.
And every time I look up, I say, you need an alarm. You need an alert. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, because some of them are pretty prevalent.
Yeah.
As far as where they come in, and they normally come in on swings that are important as opposed to swings that are minor. So yeah, it would be very nice to, and I don't know, it might be me, but it seems to be more accurate overnight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, during the day, you might get, let's say, a delta divergence inside a tunnel, and it's a counter trend anyway. You're not quite interested, but it bounces around when you're doing the real-time trading or when the session is open. Overnight, it's almost like, if you see this, just short it or buy it. Mm-hmm. Almost more definite that, we're not playing around up here. It's always a V turn more so than a bounce, and then you're making a saucer top or a saucer bottom as a top in action or a bottom action.
Right.
So I just noticed it and I said, okay, I need to go back overnight a little bit more just to double check that. But I don't know if that's an anomaly or not. But delta divergence and accumulation distribution are the two that I'm running, just for total observance. But every time I see one, it's like, damn, I'm 3 bars late now.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I wish he would put some alerts on it. I don't know why he's not doing that, but he definitely needs some alerts. And I was telling Chester, I told Chester it needs some alerts. Chester said, "Man, you so spoiled." I said, "Okay." I said, "Wait till you buy it." I said, "Okay, wait till you buy it, then let me know what you think." So, yep. Okay, the horses are out. The horses are out.
All right. Coming out of the 30-minute sell zone. Let's see if we push it down a little bit. Give us some room to do more.
And with the cum delta being at plus 8,400 now, I'm only looking to take trades to the long side. I'm only looking to take trades to the long side.
Getting a stubborn, prominent POC at the top here.
Yeah, one thing I want to say to the listeners. One thing I had a little epiphany last week. I was looking at. I think I mentioned this the other day, Thursday or whatever day that was, Friday. We were online. But I switched from 15 to 12. I switched from 15 to 12R, and I ran that for about a week. And I realized that I was missing certain things on the 15 range that I wasn't seeing on the 12 until one of the people in the chat room, Morgan K, he mentioned, he said, "Man, you might want to go." Basically, he was saying, "Man, you might want to go back to the 15." So I realized what I was missing on the 15. I realized what I was missing on the 15. So I'm back on the 15 now. Magic is still on the 12. I like the 15 a little better because I become adjusted to the delta numbers and so forth like that I see on the 15. And that's leading into what I want to say. If you are running a different time range, the important part is whether you be on NASDAQ, whether you're looking at the bonds, whether you're looking at the E-mini, whatever you're looking at, those thresholds are going to be different than what you're seeing on my screen or Magic's screen. Your thresholds are going to be different. So, I might be looking at for a delta of, say, I have my extreme delta set at 1,000. Magic, and I'm talking about TDU right now. I'm talking about Trade Devil. Magic has his set at 950. So there's a 50-point difference between my screen as far as extreme delta and Magic's screen as far as extreme delta. So become familiar with your delta numbers and, what other numbers or indicators you're running with that particular commodity. Definitely play around with it and become familiar with it. You cannot carry, which is what I did last week, a week before last. You cannot carry those numbers over to a different time frame and expect the same results. Just want to put that out there. That's very important. Very important.
We were just talking about that. And it doesn't sound like a lot of difference between a 12R or a 15R. Everything is going to be personalized to what it is you think you need to see. I need to see certain wrinkles, so I need a little more sensitivity. So I want to see it on a 12R.
Right.
Someone may not see the wrinkle he needs unless he's using a 8 range or a 30-second bar. It doesn't matter. What the point is you have to personalize your footprint thresholds to what it is you want to see. I may want to see extreme delta at 950 and Top Step wants to see it at 1000. But I have an actionable number as well. If I see something over 500 and it's a consistency, then that's probably when you're going to see a preponderance of a lot of sellers or a lot of buyers, be it a minus or a plus number. You know, it depends on what you want to see and not, you know, what somebody else is looking at, which is why we try to stay in some generalities here, because the concept is really what you should be more interested in. You know, what is the bid saying? What is the ask saying compared to the last few bars? Or what are these two pivots talking about compared to each other? What is acceleration about? What is exhaustion about? That's what we're talking about on this channel. Not particular, hey man, you need to see 1000 before you act on something. That's not the point. Somebody has a threshold that makes you act. Just like if somebody said, hey man, I want you to do X and so for $1,000, you may look at them and say, you know what, I'm not moving for less than 5. It's the same thing with FootPrint. You see the numbers you want, you set up your project the way you want, and you use FootPrint to your advantage. If you're running X minus Z over the VWAP, and we're going to fade the VWAP if we see this. All of that matters. At the same time, FootPrint numbers will enhance exactly what you're doing personally. So don't abandon what you're doing. Start layering your FootPrint on as far as the numbers that you want to see. I think we covered it because we definitely had a long talk about that not too long ago.
Right. All right, so another thing I want to get into opportunity here to talk about double tops. There's a double top, or and whether this works out or not is not the point. I just want to bring out what we're looking for in double tops, and what we're looking at right now in this 15R, and is happening on the 12R also, is a double top. Notice where I'm circling at. That number is 370 if I'm not mistaken. This number is 46 if I'm not mistaken. Those are the numbers we are comparing to each other. Notice the first time I got up here, we're at 370. The next time it got up here, it didn't quite make it to that high, but you have less buyers up here. You have less people on the ask side. So as you're always going to hear us say, that's 46. You're always going to hear us say, that's 46 versus a 370. And it's going to be the opposite side on the bottom. Now, when the bottom pops up today, I will circle, and we're always going to be comparing the bid side when it's a double bottom on the bid side. This is not a double bottom, but I'm just circling those numbers just so you get a good idea of what we're looking at here. So
look at your location as well. I mean, it's funny how these kind of things happen in certain locations.
Right. Right. And whether it's hitting this little dotted line you see right here, that little dotted line you see right there, that's the high of the day. So if it's getting up there and it's hitting the high of the day, and of course we got a report coming out, so I'm not going to make a move until after reports at 10 o'clock. But that's the kind of stuff you want to see happening when those numbers start, when you start seeing the numbers you want to see. And so when you hear me and Magic talk about, hey, that's 46 versus a 370 on the ask, we're looking at a double top. Or I might say, man, we got 419 versus, even though these are, we call these dead bars because we got a positive delta with a down bar, or you might get a up bar with a negative delta. So we call those dead bars, but we're also into comparing the deltas.
They lost 800 buyers.
Right. So we're into comparing numbers and looking at the numbers and trying to give you a good idea of what we're looking at. And when you hear us say, hey, I see a 46 versus a 370 on a double top, we're basically looking at these two numbers right there, that 46 versus that 370. So I just want to give you guys a good idea of what we're looking at when we're comparing numbers. And that's, that's how we're looking at FootPrint. If you guys look at it another way, we're more than happy to see, because I'm always interested in seeing how other people look at the FootPrint chart. But you have to pay it. It's always, somebody's always paying attention to the numbers. Somebody's always paying attention to the numbers, and they have a different way of looking at things. So that's what we're looking at right now. Right now, when you hear us say this, we might say we got 21 versus a 416. We might be comparing the deltas. So we right here,
and a lot of times,
and right here we got 2104. So we got more buyers in this bar than we do this bar. What were you saying?
Theoretically, I was going to say theoretically, looking at it from a number standpoint. Now let's turn it over to the layman like old man me. I'm saying, you have less interest when it got up in the same area. You only had 46 people that had an interest versus the last bar that we're comparing it to. So if you're just looking at it in layman's terms, trying to make sense of it just from a pictorial standpoint, you're coming into the same area, but for some reason this time you had less buyers of interest. And as you can see, you're not saying that you're going to get a big move, but you're expecting some sort of what we call a rip, a reaction in price, which is to the downside. It does not mean that we're changing trends. It just means that the numbers, the bars, you would expect a reaction to just that kind of comparison. So you may have a slight pullback, which is what we were talking about on the open. Looking for a little pullback just to go long again. That's the kind of setup. You say, okay, we got a double top here. Maybe this is where we might get the pullback. So you never know, what's setting up what. Doesn't mean react, but it does mean pay attention. So a lot of times when he talks about these numbers, I tend to draw a picture of what does that actually mean. Are we exhausting someplace? Are we accelerating someplace? Are we losing buyers? Are we losing sellers? If you start thinking in those terms along with these numbers, you probably pick up FootPrint a lot quicker, as opposed to trying to remember that accumulation means ... through AI. Get a picture of what these numbers are telling you as well. Just using that from a layman's standpoint, from understanding how sometimes getting started can be very hard with FootPrint.
Exactly. And also, these delta numbers that you see running on top and then running on the bottom of these bars, the only time you're going to see these delta numbers pop up is it's doing a comparison. And the delta, and basically is doing a volume comparison. So when you see this delta number pop up, that's because this volume down here, let's say on this particular bar with this delta 419, the volume is greater than the last bar. That's when you see the delta numbers pop up only on higher volume compared to the last bar, that these delta numbers will pop above or below these particular bars. I already asked Trade Devil to implement this. I am waiting. I am waiting. But yeah, that's how I do. And this particular software that does this is called KISS OrderFlow. I think they charge $195 or something like that for their KISS OrderFlow. And that's the only thing I have running with the KISS OrderFlow. I have it running on top of the Trade Devil, where since I don't get that option with Trade Devil, I definitely like to see when the high volume is higher than the last bar, and then it shows me the delta on top of that. So I have the KISS OrderFlow running on top of the Trade Devil.
I mean, think about it. You want to see volume when you're trading. The higher the volume, the more you're actually saying we got activity. You see a lot of bars with no volume or with less size volume, then the activity is less as well. Normally you're not getting a lot of movement. So they kind of go hand in hand. When you start seeing higher volume, which is what that KISS is measuring, higher volume from one bar to another, That's usually that part about the trend that or the run that people want to see. That's what moves it, the activity alone. So a lot of times you can look at those numbers and also see the exhaustion that might come in as well. You know, you got higher volume continually moving up, moving up, moving up. And the next thing you know, you don't get the high volume. You look at the delta numbers, you're losing delta. And you can start seeing the exhaustion just from those two numbers, delta as well as the footprint delta as well as the volume. So you can start seeing the exhaustion. Next thing you need is some sort of participation in the trend if you want to turn it around.
And a perfect
So
example with a perfect example, you see this 5 minute gap here. We're running a fair value gap, and we're running it on 5 minutes. The thing about the fair value gap is you can change it to whatever time frame you want to see. So that's real important. And you notice right here, we got a plus 957. Now notice on this bar, it comes down and hits the gap, and we got a minus 621. And then on that next up bar, we got a plus 206. Well, the reason why that 206 didn't pop up is because the volume, or did that 206 pop up? Bear with me for a second here.
you found a bug.
I found a bug. Did I? Oh. Did I? No, I didn't find a bug. Yeah, the reason why that 206 did not pop up is because that is a bug, man. Is that? No, that's cum delta. My fault.
That's delta, bro. That's delta.
That's my fault. My fault. Your mistake. So anyway, this volume right here, 1260, is not greater than the 2111. So that's why that delta didn't pop up there. Okay? But notice on the next bar, a 394, the volume is 2410 compared to 1260. The delta showed up. So now you know this bar is moving up on higher volume and higher delta. That's 394 compared to 206. And then you got 416, and then you got 2104. Now this does not necessarily mean get in, but like Magic was saying, you want it at a particular area that is of interest to you. That's how we're looking at, and once you get to, you keep looking at us pull trades and so forth like that, you'll get to seeing how Magic looks at things a little different than I do when it comes to comparing, but we're coming up with the same result.
Believe me, if you use an RSI and you use a stochastic, both of you might do something different. But I guarantee you'll come up with a lot of the same results. Just that kind of takes me into an area, and you want to make sure you're not doing too much redundancy. But markets are very similar to people's eyes. Let's face it, if you see the market continue making, you can't tell it why it's making higher highs and higher lows, but you can see it's going up. That's kind of that's just using the eyeball as an indicator, and you're coming up with the same result that I would.
And notice this dead bar up here, the current bar, we're looking at a plus 1285 on the 15R. And notice on the 12R, we're looking at a plus 791, but the bar is down. So that's definitely, I call those load shots. But we got reports coming out now, so just something to pay attention to. We're at the highs of the day. This little dotted line is the high of the day. And of course, it looks at the lows of the day also. That's just an indicator. That's an indicator you can pull out of your Ninja Trader. Notice on this 12R, on this down bar, we got plus 1791. But then on the next on a lower high, we're looking at a minus 67. So that's a pretty good comparison there if the report wasn't coming out. But you still want to pay attention to numbers like that. Also, let's look at something else that I noticed also. That's a lower high with a double top, or not quite a double top, but we got 23 versus 78. So that's something else. So now you got 1791, and then it goes to a minus 67, and then you got 23 versus 78. Definitely something you want to be paying attention to on your lower highs, especially when it's that close, and your deltas all at the same time. These are the numbers that this is the kind of stuff that you're looking at when you're looking to play a short. And notice it's hitting up against the highs of the day. And by the way, it's also going down. I don't like to play during reports before or right after reports, but right now it's doing what I would have expected it to do on a non-report day, or when reports aren't due. It's doing exactly what I would have expected to do. And let's say worst case scenario, let's break out the measuring ruler. And these are 12-hour bars right here. So worst case
No tunnel. Just I know you don't look at it, but for me, that is also in the context of those bars you were just comparing on the pivots.
Right.
One gets in and one doesn't.
Explain to them what tunnel, no tunnel means. Y'all bear with me. I got a lawnmower outside my door. They're cutting grass. So if you can still hear pretty clear, or if you hear the lawnmower, bear with me for a second.
Go to the bar before the first pivot was made, when you went up to the tunnel.
That right there, the 70, the one with the 70?
Bar at 945.42.
945.42.
That closed beyond the Bollinger Band, which I call the tunnel. I'll give you reasons for that another time. But it went beyond and closed above the Bollinger Band. Once it came back out on the following bar at the 1791 and came out of that condition, you tried and retested that band again, failing to be able to close above that band. Now, at the same time, that's not something that I would necessarily say go, because I like to see a higher high not getting in the band. But once you lay FootPrint on top of the two pivots, which is where Top Step was just talking, now all of a sudden that condition of closing beyond the Bollinger Band once, coming out of that condition and trying to do it again and failing, you lay FootPrint on top of comparing that, and you may find yourself in a situation that you might believe a little quicker, as opposed to just seeing it and say, this is just a pullback. Well, you may look at 78 versus 23 and say, those are good enough numbers for me to move, because of the condition that I see as well. Again, that's leaving FootPrint not standing alone, and that's leaving the Bollinger Band not standing alone. They're enhancing each other based on a condition that you see. And this particular time, unlike the first time, think about it, this particular time, we got a nice pullback, a tradable pullback, if you would want to be a short. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. A lot of what he's talking about is happening in areas that you would expect to see some sort of exhaustion happening, which we really didn't see an exhaustion until you saw the retest of the band. Then the numbers got smaller, and all of a sudden we have a fall off at that point. So you're putting numbers together based on a lot of things you see, not just the tops, not just the numbers alone. Guaranteed there's something else that would interest you in saying, I think this might be falling off. You never can tell. So you put FootPrint, layer that on top, you might find yourself being a little more convinced in a quicker fashion. As Mike Valtos would say a lot of times, what are you waiting for?
And also, when he's referring to tunnels, these are Bollinger Bands. Tell him what your settings of the Bollinger Bands are. And he used those He used those bands as overextended, whether he's going one way or the other, looking to go long or looking to go short. So
Either way, Bollinger Bands, the settings are basically 2 deviation with a 30 as the average move, as the average, 30 and 2 deviation. If you want them to look like tunnels, put it on use also a second setting on another set of Bollinger Bands and put it on 30 and a 3 deviation. Then you will start seeing that they will form a moving tunnel. Basically, Bollinger Bands are a dynamic support and resistance. That's all they are. Because deviations mean that you're only going to move so far before you snap back like a rubber band. Using that particular deviation number, you expect certain things to happen. It doesn't matter what time frame you want to lay on top of this. I tend to use range charts because the predictability of where it's going to close, the evenness of the move. I'm still trying to mimic a Renko without having a Renko. So I tend to use range charts when I do this. But as far as the band itself, they are the dynamic support resistance. What I expect to see is some sort of exhaustion, some sort of participation, but some sort of a reaction in price. Whether it's small or large, I expect to see even a sideways action if you come out of that condition. Normally, when you close beyond the Bollinger Band, you're looking for more action. You're looking for strength to the upside. Even if it pulls out of that condition and becomes rotational, you would expect to see at least a retest of closing above. When you start making new highs and you're not closing above those bands is when I tend to get worried, and when I tend to reflect even more on footprint, because I'm looking for a larger reaction in price, because that denotes some sort of exhaustion as well. You saw when I say tunnel, no tunnel, normally I'm referring to the fact that we closed above the tunnel on one pivot, and the next pivot made, or the higher high pivot especially that's made, is not closing beyond that same situation. It's not creating the same condition. And this time it's showing more exhaustion because you can't get beyond the resistance, which is a dynamic Bollinger Band. I hope I didn't get too complicated on that, but that's why I'm looking at Bollinger Bands. On top of that, I'm looking at Bollinger Bands on a 4 time frame segment, which also gives me reference to my directions. So right now, for me, I'm looking for anything that comes off of a Bollinger Band to the downside to be a pullback.
keep talking, man. I gotta take a bathroom break.
That's a doggone shame you make me talk like this. But we are starting to come into that same situation I was talking about before. We're making new highs, but we're not necessarily closing beyond the tunnel. So at this point, I would be a little more cautious, I would say. Starting to get down bars finishing on the min, where you may have a cumulative a minimum delta of 400 and you're finishing within 95% of that 400. So this, like, they're selling on the bid right now when you see something is finishing on the minimum. We're also getting no interest because we're getting single print numbers on the tops of these red bars. So let's see what kind of reaction we get. Again, we're definitely favoring the upside. We're in 15,000 on the cum delta to the upside. But still, the condition itself says this may be a little deeper pullback than we expect. So I'm really looking for this pullback to show some sort of exhaustion before I would want to participate to the upside, or if I'm going to participate to the upside. But that's where FootPrint has tended to keep me out of less of a problem. I tend to read numbers now when I see this certain condition that I like or certain locations that I like. FootPrint has definitely kept me out of certain things as well. So at this point, we're starting to pull back off of that condition.
Also, another perfect example of comparison on this high right here, we're looking at 1791, and then it makes a higher high, but the volume is not there, But look at the delta down here is minus 391. That's how I look at comparison numbers. We got a higher high, we got minus 391, and I know it might be kind of weird, but that's how I see it. That's how I see it. And so I'm looking at minus 391 versus 1791.
With no close.
Right.
Tunnel, no tunnel, higher high. That's my favorite divergence.
Right. And notice he's telling you something that he sees with the Bollinger Bands where I'm not using the Bollinger Bands. I'm just looking at the numbers.
And coming to the same conclusions.
Coming to the same conclusion, yes. Coming to the same conclusion. So yeah, that's another example of something that I would be looking at as far as getting into the market. It is 10 o'clock now, so the last report has come out, or is coming out at 10 o'clock. Something else I look at. Let me show you something else that I look at. On this 15R right here, sometimes I don't go back as far as this number right here and compare this number right here. Now on the 15R, we got plus 1285 versus a minus 61. But that next bar is minus 1290. It closed on the min or near the min. That's my symbol for the min max. This is a pawn and a queen. You can put the symbols however you want. I did that on the earlier videos on how to get those symbols above your bars. And we got falling delta. I have a tendency to compare. That's like a two bar combination. Sometimes I will compare that if the delta is telling me it's a go, and then I'm getting a delta ratio, or not delta ratio, but a delta divergence here. I got a thin print of 9. So yeah, all of that stuff I'm taking into consideration, and that is saying, all right, Maurice, you need to be looking at this. This is a potential trade right here, and you don't have time to think about a lot of this stuff. You do not have time to think about. You can't sit back for 5 minutes. Or think you're going to sit back for the next 2-3 minutes and say, do I want to take this trade? This is what I call it critical thinking. You got to be able to make that move. If you see something, you got to be able to make that move at the snap of a finger. And we're plus 15,000 on the cum now. So I'm only looking for long trades at this point. I'm not looking for short trades. So I'm only looking for long trades. Let's look at the delta going to the upside. That's when I make my shift and start shifting my eyes. All right, let's see what's going on to the upside. But I also have a chart here, and I have a moving. Yeah, and I have and this is one of the charts I have. I have a moving average on my delta, and that has a tendency to let me know. I just use this as more of a confirmation as to, if the delta's above a moving average, I'm only looking for long trades, especially when we're looking at plus 15,000 on the cum. That's how I'm looking at. I say, okay, I'm only looking to take long trades, and vice versa. If we were on the negative side of the cum and this delta candles were below the moving average, then I will be only looking to take short trades. And I just keep that chart off to the side on one of my other monitors. Now, all this might not click in immediately, but you're going to have some aha moments when you guys start looking at this.
Showing a little exhaustion to the down now. might be a place that you have of interest. If you're looking for longs, might be that pullback spot you're interested in.
Looking at long. We looking at a long trade here? Are we looking at a long trade here?
Not a sermon, just a thought, just a thought.
Oh, wrong. God dang on side. This is now here. I made a mistake on this. I'm gonna get out. Anytime you make a mistake, just get out on the close. Don't try to work an error. I like the long side on this. So when you make a mistake, do not try to work an error. Get out immediately. Because I am only looking to take long trades now. So I hit my first target, and I got 2 or 3 ticks locked in on my on my runner.
That's all, folks.
Okay, so I ended up with 108. I ended up with a realized profit of 108, and the reason why I took this trade. Let's go back and see why I took this trade. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Don't tell nobody. Haha. Anyway, one of the reasons why I took this trade, this is a signal that I've been testing out for a minute. So when I get an up candle and the cum delta is down, and it's above the moving average, I usually get an alert. I have an alert set. I don't know if you guys saw that alert pop up on the screen, but I have an alert set. So, and I tend to see some follow through, and we'll see how much I leave on the table because it already.
I'll let you know.
Yeah. It already came back and got my runner out. I haven't made my adjustments to the runner yet, but yeah, this is one of the signals that I get in it. Up candle on the data candle, down candle on the cum delta, but it's above the moving average. Any questions for anybody? Any of you quiet people out there that's just sitting back trying to take all of this in? No question is too stupid. Just ask. What's new, Morgan? How you doing, man? No question is too stupid. No question. There's no such thing as this is a stupid question. I want to go back and make me think about something that I might not be doing that you're doing, or vice versa. So yeah, that was a pretty good trade there, and you know, depending on your ATM, and I want to talk about that trade for a second because I got in on the wrong side. When you get in, if you accident, and trust me, that's going to happen. Every once in a while, you're going to accidentally hit that sell button and hit the buy button, and you want to do vice versa. I can't tell you how many times I worked at a trade desk, and after the client hung up, I would ask myself, I said, wait a minute, did he just tell me to sell, or did he just tell me to buy? Because if you got the phone ringing 1,000 times a day and everybody's saying do the opposite, at some point you're going to question yourself, wait a minute, did he just tell me to sell, or did he just tell me to buy? It happens. So yeah, when you make an error like that, don't work it. Get out immediately. Get out immediately. Take that 1 or 2 tick loss and get out immediately. And that's what you saw me do. I accidentally hit the sell side instead of the buy side, and I just got out. Whatever loss you take, 2, 3 ticks or whatever loss you take, just get out of it. So that's a lesson in making a mistake and correcting it and still making money on the trade. Morgan, what you doing in the hole this early in the morning, man? You knew the reports were coming out, man. You shouldn't be trying to grind out the hole, not unless you created it last night before the report. Then I can possibly understand that. I do not trade during reports, and I try to kind of give it like a 5-minute break or so after reports, make sure things get back to normal. But those reports did not rock as hard as rock the market as hard as I thought they were going to anyway. Now, something I want to talk about on the 12. Let me bring my, here's another comparison that I might be looking at. This comparison right here, I'm looking at minus 391. And it made a higher high by, looks like maybe to the tick. It made a higher, it reached up there. It's almost like a double top up here, right? You got a minus 897. Yeah, but here's the problem I see with that a little bit. Here's a little bit of a problem I see with that. Let me show you something. And this is something that you have to look out for that I kind of pay attention to. Now, those asks are reversed. You got 9 here, and the current bar, not the current bar, let's back that up. And this makes me pause a little bit. And you got 51 here. So now you got to go to, if those numbers aren't matching on the ask, and you're gonna see that you got a 9 here and you got a 51 here. So if those numbers aren't matching there, then go down to your cum, right? See if your cum is telling you anything. On the cum, you got 17,000 here, and then you got 15.1 here. So you got less buyers here. So that might give you some type of indication. I'm just looking at it from an example on the short side. I'm not taking no short trades today. I'm just giving you an example of where my eyes go when certain numbers aren't meeting my specs, so to speak. So you know you got less sellers there. So you know you got less buyers here because that cum dropped from 17,000 to 15.1. Okay? So even though the deltas the deltas are also in place. You got minus 391 versus minus 897. But sometimes those bid or those ask might not be giving you what you want. Take your eyes straight down to the delta. Go to the cum. That's where my eyes automatically shift to if I'm looking to take a trade and my asks aren't telling me what I want to see. Just an example of what I might be looking for when those numbers aren't matching like they're supposed to. But right now, I'm only looking to take long trades. So let's go back to the charts and see what we're looking at here. And if you don't see nothing, nothing has to happen. If you don't see nothing, don't do anything. Just sit on your hands. We say, Morgan, tried being slick. You can't outslick the market, man. She's wicked. She's wicked. Yes, I've done that several times. To start your chart, your stop was too tight. And I think Magic said that last week or week before last when I put on a trade, when my stop was too tight and it still went in my direction. You got to play the chart. You have to play the chart. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to play the chart. Looking for long trades only. We're looking at a plus 15,000 on the Cume. Looking for long trades only. Not bad on some of these short scalps too. Oh yeah, man. Trading the NASDAQ. Those stops, man. NASDAQ, I'm a little afraid of the NASDAQ because it rips up and down like nothing to it. Nothing to it. It rips up and down that chart like nothing to it. I can't get adjusted to the NASDAQ. I'm not quite I don't want to take the risk in the NASDAQ yet compared to the E-mini. E-mini moves kind of nice and slow. NASDAQ rips up and down like it's nothing to it. So now I'm waiting for something else that's telling me to get in. Nothing catches my eye at this moment.
You can draw a box around this.
Yes, you can draw a box around it. You can definitely draw a box around it. That's another reason why I keep my, like on my drawing tools, I keep a range. And basically, if you can draw a range, from high to low, you know you're in chop. I call it chop chop. Change that to black. Change this to black. Apply, template, save. Default. Yeah. Definitely in a range. This is your kind of action, Magic.
Yeah, I was hollering when it got up to the top band on the comparison. Either way, I said, okay, we got 2 plays to go, and it ain't up. One was down and one was sideways.
Yeah.
So.
And matter of fact, when it's ranging like this, I'm the quiet one, and Magic is the one drooling. He's looking to pull off a trade.
We just got an accelerated move now from 90 on the delta, and we moved from 90, which is not an actionable number, to plus 528, which is an actionable number. So that would kind of dictate, I would expect some sort of movement. I think the buyers are really trying to look for enough room to break this resistance. That's my feeling. The delta, we lost 2,000 delta about, between the last 2 pivots, but we're not getting the reaction that we lost 2,000 buyers. We're getting more the reaction that we're taking a rest. We're taking profits up here. Let's pull back and find another place to go long. That's kind of how I see the thinking going on right now, because that pivot, minus 897, plus 1,300, whatever it was, those 2 pivots should have pushed that down to a bottom band, at least, to another point of support. And it didn't do that. It's creating support through going sideways. Kind of how we used to say, it's letting the air out. All your indicators are probably going into negatives, dropping out of extremes while you're going sideways. So you're kind of letting the air out. Looking for enough room to push. Now guess what? I'm very quick to change my mind if that doesn't happen. But right now, that's where my head is. That box doesn't leave a whole lot of meat on the bone unless you're going to buy the bottom of the box and take a nibble and then sell the top of it until one of them's wrong. Believe me, there's an approach to everything you see on these charts. It's a matter of whether you want to take the risk when you want to do it. It's nothing but a risk reward. How'd the guy say? Nothing but numbers.
Do not let footprint intimidate you, and that's why I think a lot of people chose not to deal with not to deal with footprint, because it intimidates them. So don't let the footprint intimidate you. Do not let the footprint intimidate you.
You're using a lot of the same basic principles, but you're laying over something that makes a little more sense out of what you think you see. Notice the 12R at least is starting to get more numbers on the bottom side, which is another reason you would think, okay, high volume continues to be pushing it up as opposed to pushing down on it. Another kind of small indication.
Man, if I hadn't made that error, I think I would have made a little more than $108.
Believe me, I'm not going to tell you how much I'm up on that trade.
We got now. There's something else. Me and Magic joke about a lot. Sometimes your hand will be on the mouse, and all of a sudden, your fingers has brains of its own and will twitch. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten in a trade because my finger twitched, or Magic's finger has twitched. If you haven't experienced that yet, it'll happen.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Give it time.
The more you see your trade about to happen, the more that will happen.
Right.
If you're not aware and you just go push the button, that's a different story. But a lot of times you see your trade coming up and you actually don't want to get ahead of it because the conditions could change within a bar. So you're literally sitting on the button, waiting for a close of a bar or certain breakout points that you might see. And I guarantee you the excitement, the adrenaline, what have you, and even after all these years, I still get a rush just getting ready to push a button. And it will twitch. But that will also teach you what to do because now you're playing an error. You're not trading what you think you see yet because it hadn't happened. So you got two choices. Oh, I want to see if this really happens and I'm ahead of it. That doesn't always work out the way you think it does. So you got a 50-50 of giving away a few ticks as opposed to the best advice in the world, get out. Push the button, close the trade, start over, get your thoughts together, and if the trade is still about to happen, get ready to push the button again. It's just a little bit of cost of doing business. You'll be mad at it if you lose the original trade anyway, and you'll be glad you did that, and you'll say, just the cost of doing business if you win the trade. So your brain's going to rationalize it either way it goes. Twitches, wow, haven't done that for a while. I think you just talked me up on something.
What'd I miss, man? What'd I miss?
We were just talking, I was just going a little more in depth about twitches.
Okay.
Salty Gravy, good morning to you, my friend. We pushed into those bands with a 1300 delta and turned around. That's that's almost like giving up.
Are you talking about the last up bar? Yes, I see.
Yeah. That should have continued to the upside, and it really didn't do what it should have.
Yeah.
What you thought it should have. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, talking about. And then it went from plus 1331 to minus 379.
Minus 379, another reaction in price at the bands, and you still got an upward bias, but you got to question sometimes when these things run up into these areas of interest, I'll call them.
And a lot of times, let me show you guys something else. And here's what we mean by extreme. I'll look at this also. Even though, and I don't know where your eyes might go, but even though this is a minus 379 on this pivot up here, sometimes I might be looking for like plus or minus 500 or 600 on that delta to make a move.
Actionable number.
Yeah, that's my threshold on that. That's my threshold on that. Got another signal here. I think I'm kind of late on the move to go long. Think I'm kind of late on the move to go long. Yeah, I'm late. Late to the party, missed the trade. Yeah, I missed that trade. If it comes back down there, I don't think I want it. Nope. By the way, that's that I'm gonna call that a dead bar, dead cumulative bar. That's what I'm gonna call that. I'm gonna call that a dead cumulative bar.
You talk about the pivot?
Nope. I'm talking about this trade right here. One of my new entry signals that I kind of like to look at. You got an up bar, but you got a dead cumulative bar, but it is above the moving average. So that's the only time I am looking to take longs on that. And these are 15-hour bars. So hell, you can get a good 3-point scalp out of that. You can get a good 3-point scalp out of that. I moved too late on that, by the way. It's your fault, Magic. It's all your fault.
I'm quite comfortable here today.
Yeah, it's going. That was a trade. That was a trade, people. I'm sorry I missed that trade. Wasn't moving fast enough. And that's what I mean when I say you don't have a lot of time to make up. You don't have a lot of time to pull that trade off. You don't got a lot of time to think. Are you going to make it? Are you going to do it? Or you're not?
I just want to highlight one of my favorite setups, just in case. In fact, I kind of missed it as it was showing. I got a little bit nervous because of bands. So I will say every now and again, those bands will work against you. But at the pivot, we had a minus 464 on the pivot, up bar, dead bar if you want to call it that. But one of my favorite signals is if I have a very strong bias to the upside, I call it the red light, green light, because I hate signals, just hard signals that say go. But this happens to be one of the setups that really make me tend to move because you've got actionable numbers on both sides. You've got a minus 464, and the following bar that went up went to a positive 829, which for me, actionable numbers are 500. So you feel like you're trapping 400 guys down here at the bottom. And then all of a sudden you got an acceleration of 800 more buyers on top of that. So you went from a minus 460 to plus 800. That's a 1,200 point plus move to the upside as far as gaining buyers. So a lot of times, if nothing else on an accelerated move, I would expect to see at least one bar follow through on that. So if you're a scalper, think about that. You're running a 15R and you expect one bar. That's nice a piece chunk of change. Yes, it is. But anyway, And if you continually have a runner on that, you just don't know what you're going to get from it. But my whole existence is trying to hit the first target. That's the target that makes everything free. That's the target that covers the commissions, pays for lunch. But you got to hit that first target in order to be successful. And I throw this out now. Even if you're starting on the ME, don't worry about making 5 points. Learn to make 10 ticks, 8 ticks, whatever floats your boat. That turns into real money on one contract of the E-mini, or you're going to exaggerate your efforts. You're not going to try to make 12 ticks, 15 ticks, 100 ticks. I just want to do 8 ticks all over again. I think Pat's Trader teaches some of the same stuff. $50 a day equals $12,000 a year. If you're satisfied with $50 a day. But think about it. If you make 10 ticks and you learn how to make 10 ticks on the ME, and you make 10 ticks or 8 ticks on the E-mini, that's 125. And if you do it long enough and you see your account grow, then nothing to say. Your largest move you will ever make, and I'm guaranteeing you this, the largest move that will scare you is moving from one contract to 2. After that, it doesn't mean anything. But the largest and the most feared move you'll make is moving from one contract on the E-mini to 2. Been there, done that. It don't feel good until you start seeing that, oh, this is really worth it. It's all the same. It's just your brain playing tricks on you. But really, learn to make 10 ticks.
One thing I want to say also, and I know we're throwing a lot out here. You can always go back and watch these videos over again because we're throwing a lot of information at you. I got a signal here on this stripe, on this TDU stripe. I got a big delta and a thin print. Doesn't make a difference what the signal is, the point I'm trying to make. We already got to run up, and this is what I pay attention to on my charts. You might see something different on your charts. We already got to run up of 4 bars in a row. We got to run up of 4 bars in a row. If I get a signal if I don't get in on the first 2 bars, if I don't get in on these first 2 bars right here, a 3rd bar, that's questionable. 4th
Diminish the return.
I'm not doing it. 5th bar, anything after the 3rd bar, I'm not doing it. I don't care how good the signal looks. I'm not doing it. I've gotten burned more times than not taking a trade on the 4th and 5th bar. Okay? Also, just like Magic got the signal, I don't think you guys saw it when I was explaining it because we was on Magic screen. But here's the signal I was talking about. We got an up bar. This is the trade I missed. We got an up bar, and we got a down cum delta, but it's above the moving average. That was my trade that I missed. So, but when you get these signals start popping after 4 and 5 bars in a row, take it at your own risk. Take it at your own risk. Notice this signal came in because, not unless you really have it programmed to come in on the pivot, which is a good idea. That's something Mike Valto's software is doing, is coming in on the swing. If you don't have that stuff programmed to come in on the swing, be very careful when you take that trade. Be very careful. I'm kicking myself, man. Look at that trade, man. So, yeah, be very careful when you take that trade. Risky business, risky business. We do have Mike Valto's stuff running in the background, but we can't set alerts or nothing on his chart. So, I mean, look at this down here. We got a POC wave. You got price action, delta divergence, and you also have passive buyers down here on the pivot. Beautiful trade, but when you got your eyes glued to another chart, there's a great chance. Me and Magic are starting to realize there's a very good chance. Not unless you're glued to only this chart and this chart only. There's a very good chance you're going to miss that trade. I will send him an email this evening, but I think he's doing a class this week, if I'm not mistaken. For Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week, he's doing a class where he was teaching some order flow techniques. So, yep. Anyway, that would have been a beautiful trade. Beautiful trade. Yes, Salty. I got a saying for that. You said I've learned that will always be other trades.
Right up his alley.
What do I say all the time, Magic?
Another bus will come again.
Another bus will come again. Another bus will be along. And look, right after this signal, we get a minus 1682 on a flip on a pivot. So yeah, anytime you're getting signals after like the second or third bar, you be very careful. And this is on TDU. This is mainly that's a rule for me on anything. That's a rule for me on anything. Be very careful.
That brings me to one of my favorite sayings: nothing goes in a straight line forever.
Right. Exacto mundo.
All right. Right now, from what I am looking at, we are representing a lot of strength. I am still on the side of the Bulls, but I don't believe they can just continually push this. I would like to see us come outside on the other side, the inside of the tunnels, and become a little more rotational before I would consider actually joining the Bulls once again. But right now, the condition shows that we are extremely strong. And either you're finding some suckers at the top to push this down, or right now I'd be looking for at least some sort of pullback to give us another opportunity to do it all over again. I got a quick question out there for a few of you vets in the room at least. Do you set your stops on your trades according to the chart formations, or do you set it according to your pockets? Think about that for a sec. I'd like to hear a couple of answers to that one. When I say your pockets, for those who might be starting, the general rule is you really don't want to expose more than 2% of your trading capital on any one particular trade. Now that changes from if you're a long-term holder versus a scalper and vice versa. But generally the rule is 2%. And then the other side of that is sometimes the stop based on the chart should be a little more than that 2%. Do you play the chart, or do you stick to the stop based on your pocket? Or do you just not take the trade if you can't afford it?
Got a nice little pullback here.
They taking chunks out of the cumulative delta. Gracious. Same thing, Salty. According to your pockets or according to the chart, vet or not. If your pockets say I got 5,000 in my sim trading account, do you risk 100 and don't worry about it and you got 50 times to be right? Or do you say, you know what, I like this trade, but I got to risk 2.5%, 3% on the trade, but I like it. I mean, it's a tough way to look at it. But even on sim trading, that's something you should treat as a regular account to really get the psychological effect of it all. My last sim trading account, I still have plenty that I play with, but my last serious sim account, before I got ready to go live, so to speak, you really try to put a good 3 months in and try to treat it exactly like you would as if you had half the money that you're going to start with. That's a kind of a good example to do. That will really tighten you up on your sim trading. So if you plan on putting 10 grand into your regular account when you go live, do your sim account around 5 grand. Now, when you're thinking about doing 5 grand, you may want to say, 60% is good. I'll put 3,500 in the sim account and tighten your trades up to the point that you feel like you're ready to go. A lot of psychological games get you ready. Risk to reward. Yeah, I kind of like the risk to reward as well. So Fly Guy says, the heck with my account. If I'm risking this much, I want to make this much at least. And when the money gets really good, I want to make more as I move up because I'm giving back less. Is that what I'm reading, Fly Guy? I'm going to give you another take on this same question because I know this is what Top Step does. And I know it's something I do. When you do your homework, your real homework, and you're looking at signals or concepts of trading, you're going to realize that certain trades you take are going to yield more than others, but the win-loss, they're going to actually risk more than you'd like to. But because the win-loss ratio is 80% or greater, it's kind of hard to ignore a trade that may cause you to risk a little bit more. So a lot of times when we're doing our homework, we will look at a type of trade and how far does it go? How much does it risk normally? How many times does it lose? All of those things should fit into your formula as far as whether a trade is worth it. So when we're showing something on the screen, a lot of times it may be more than you'd like to risk. But if you do the homework, you say, you know what? That trade is worth it because 80% of the time I make money on it. So mathematically, if you take your calculator out, it will make sense. So when you do your homework, pay attention to the types of signals you may get. For instance, I'll give you a quickie. I see something that's got exhaustion on beyond the Bollinger Bands, and I don't know how far it's going to come out, but I really feel strongly that it's going to come out. I may only want to take 8 ticks out of that really quickly. That's it. When normally if I'm taking trades, my first targets are 12 ticks. But according to a certain condition, that 8 ticks may be worth it to you, even though you may have to risk 12 to get it. But hell, 80% of the time, the numbers come out pretty well. So a lot of times, do your homework first, then you may want to make the decision on how you want to play it, or numbers wise, whether you want to take that particular trade. Takes a lot of work to categorize a trade. In fact, I will give Top Step a little credit to put me in that situation where every trade is not treated the same. And that was something hard for me. Every trade I took, hey man, I'm following it by this. If it comes down, to heck with it. My money says I can't do it. But as he got me to realize that each trade does something totally different, even though they're coming from the same area. You know, if you do your homework, you'll be able to set up some sort of a trailing strategy based on that trade. There are some trades I take, and if I get a down bar, the next bar, I'm out of it, no matter what. That's just the way the trade works. It's supposed to have a follow-through bar, and if it doesn't, I'm out. So keep all of those in mind when you're really thinking about your stops, your targets. Keep the type of trade in mind, and also keep the time frame in mind. If you're trading on a 6R versus a 20R, you're going to get different results. I stay on a soapbox, man. You keep asking me those things. Or did I start on my own this time? All right, we are pulling back to small time bands now. Starting to get to be an attractive area that may be of interest to those who like longs. See what kind of action we get down in here. Do that over 100 trades or about 6 months worth, Salty Gravy, and you'll get exact answers that you really want to how you want to deal with that particular type of trade. So far today, it really looks like it's been pretty predictable. You know, high, pull back, high, low, high, pull back, high, low. Pretty predictable. Not a usual situation where you can predict everything the market's doing. So we still got about 3-4 hours of predictability. I doubt that stays that way. Got to be a trick in here somewhere.
If you take a counter trade, recognize that you are taking a counter trade. Is your target going to be the same? Or are you going to take quicker profits? Is your target going to be closer because you're in a counter trade? So, questions like that needs to come up when you're taking a counter trade. And if we took a short right about now, or if you're thinking about taking a short, recognize that we are trending up. What is Trusty Dusty doing? Trusty Dusty. The Dow Cash is up 226. The NASDAQ is up 214. We got the CUM up 20,000 plus. I am only looking to take long trades right now. That's how I'm looking at this. I am only looking to take long trades right now. Look like we want to get a trade popping off here in a minute. Let's see how we do.
Got load shot coming up in the 15.
Load shot. Sellers seem to can't carry this bar down. The buyers will seem to be holding them up or stopping them, so to speak. Let's see what happens here. I got an up bar. I got an up bar with a negative cum delta. So let's see what happens here. First target is sitting at 5,100 and a quarter. Got the runner sitting at 5,105 and a quarter. Let's see what happens here. Get away from that stop, man. Get away from that stop. And my stops usually go below the pivot or below, for this trade, it will go below the entry bar that I got in on this particular trade. So I don't want to risk no more than that. We are struggling here, though. We are struggling.
Yep. By the time you finish looking at it, you won't even remember that red. You'll probably look at it and say, yeah, you see how it ran up? Forgot all about that dip.
And I want to mention something about that, because when you're doing back testing historical results, you don't pay no attention to them stems. You're just looking at what it went to. Pay attention to that drawdown. I'm going to call it intraday drawdown. Come on, hit that first target. Give me that first target. Come on now. And I do have to make some adjustments to my, I'm not interested in this thing going back negative again. I do have to make some adjustments to my ATM. My ATMs are not quite, I'm still experimenting with my ATMs. They're not quite where I want them to be. Let's see what, see if we got any trades on Baltos. Nope, no trades on Baltos on this. Not feeling this at all.
You picked a good area, man. You blind squirrel find a little nut every so often. You know, you picked a little good area.
Not interested in this at all. This is that big round raggy number we always talk about.
See, if you were looking at the 12R, you'd see, oh, we got a couple of up bars and got a few tricks coming in. 12R would give you more confidence than that 15 stuff you're looking at right now, boy. That 15 scares me, just scares me. Until it's over, then it looks good.
Come on, buyers. Get up there. Hit that target now.
Yabba dabba doo!
Now I got my ATM to move to break even on that runner. So whatever happens after this, I'm not going to lose. Whatever happens after this, I'm not going to lose. First target is hit. Now the hard part comes in. Getting that runner to do what he's supposed to do. Run.
You know, you can actually consider quite a few things when it talks about a runner. You can consider the low of the previous bar. You can consider the POC of the previous bar. Stay behind the POCs. That's a good trailing process as well. Remember, the POC represents the most volume in a particular bar. So if you stay behind that, that may be something when you're doing your research. You know, how often do you get that POC pinched? You know, just some things to consider as you're trying to consider a runner.
Now he's doing his job.
We're also getting a lot of acceleration from negative numbers on the bottom of these bars to positive numbers, finishing on the min, delta rising, ratio stepping in. A lot of good things are happening for him. Now his breath is, can you hear him breathing much? First you couldn't even hear him talk because he was getting choked. Now you hear his breathing coming in now.
Now
I had a feeling. I had a feeling Morgan K was in this trade. I just had a feeling.
Yeah, I'm gonna make some adjustments to my ATM eventually, but you know, all this is just it gives you an example, gives you guys just examples to see how we're looking at charts and how we're looking to take trades off of certain signals. We haven't even got into the ATM because the ATM, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. That's a whole nother, and Magic has a thing. He always said, you know, a person divides his ATM according to his personality. There we go. Get on up there. Hit that target. Hit that target. You know what? I'm going to move this target up a little bit. Move it out the way.
Ah, the greedy man steps in.
I'm going to get a little greedy. I'm going to move this target up here. Move it out the way a little bit. See if we can lock in a little more.
That's all, folks.
Yeah, Morgan, that was one of Valto's early lessons where he was explaining dead bars and runs, where he explained to them as, man, move it out the way again, and where he explained that they were considered a forging situation. It's actually an absorption. That's really what it is, where you got sellers stepping in on a run, kind of stepping in front of that knife. And they probably, you know, if they're 10-lot traders, they might have put 2 lots on, you know, just to put their toe in the water to see if this is that area they liked. And if they don't get the, you know, if they don't get the movement that they're expecting, then basically, boom, they're out of that trade really quick, which is why you're followed by large delta after that with buyers.
And I'm
So
go ahead, Magic. What was you going to say?
No, I was just going to say it creates a springboard effect. That's all it is. That's why you get pairs a lot of times where the POCs are laying next to each other on an up bar and a down bar. Then you obviously sort of see it fly to one side or the other. That's it.
Okay, so and I want you guys, even though I got that delta signal, right? Even though I got that delta signal, where was that? Right here, right? Notice that delta was minus. I call that a load shot. Load shot is where the buyers or sellers couldn't, and that is one of Mike Valto's signals, couldn't get it off. But what confirmed it was that down red bar in the delta, this bar closes up, and notice we go from, and here's a comparison, we go from 1011 to a plus 47. So it did a 180-degree flip. So that's all of that was coming in. And sometimes you're going to get signals on the bottom or on the top of these bars. Sometimes you're not. But that's, you know, that was this was the kicker right there. Or that right here. Not the next bar, but that right there. This was the kicker. That red delta and that green bar. So of course you want other things to complement that. But that, you know, that was the kicker. and that was a confirmation. So you can see I got in the entry at 98 and a quarter, first target, and then I moved the second target a little further up, which you can do that. I call it putting the carrot before the horse. Don't let the carrot don't let the horse eat that carrot. Dangle it a little. I think they got to. Did they do that in the old days with the donkeys?
Yeah,
to
get them to move forward.
Yeah, to get them. I think they did that with the donkeys to get them to move forward. That's just a little mental thing of mine. But yeah, I always, when I see it moving at that kind of rate, I have a tendency to start moving my target up or down a little further away from, and try to get a little more than I wanted. So that's that.
I would be remiss if I did not mention the fact that on the 12R, we are starting to get that condition again where we close the last pivot above the bands, and this particular higher highs we're making, we're not closing above the band. So to me, I am seeing early signs of exhaustion. Just thought I'd throw that out there, guys. Yes, I do have an up bias, but I do pay attention to exhaustive states.
You got a delta trap on that 12R, by the way. Not looking to take short trades. We're only looking to take long trades.
And we got a nasty number of 1,000 on the top of that delta. Finishing on the min.
If you take that
lot
trade,
of situations.
Yeah, if you take that trade, recognize you are in a counter trade.
There it is. Again, it takes you shorts for me to get along anyway. So that's why I tend to also try to point out areas of interest for shorts. This would be one of them based on just the condition alone. We're also running up in a 30-minute fair value gap, which is, I don't think Step runs that anymore, but for me it's still significant for these larger time frames. So we're falling right out of that again.
I'm gonna put that on your 12R just for you, man. I'm gonna do you a favor.
I don't want to heat your computer up so much that we don't get transmission anymore. I understand that you're running a Pentium 4 now. You upgraded from the 3.
Explain why I'm doing this. Explain to him the dragon thing we noticed earlier.
We started seeing lag as we added more and more and more to our charts. Now, when we got to a small time frame, we noticed that the lag got even greater. I think that's why I mentioned earlier the smaller time frame that I'm running was a good area for those longs before all of those other signals were coming in. Well, we stopped running that because it, really created a lot of lag when we were, transmitting as well as through, whatever means that we were doing it. So at this point right now, we're streamlining what we may or may not, start running as a service. Now, I have devised a new way to run this, and hopefully I can show you my entire dashboard that I'm running in one particular screen, and I hope all of that creates less of a lag when I put that chart up. Because I do run a dashboard in the background that I don't want to confuse people, because actually it's 4 time frames in one dashboard. And when I say I'm looking at something on a smaller time frame, it's because it's right next to the next time frame, which is down from the next time frame, which is up from the next time frame. So a lot of things for me are kind of compacted into one screen where I can look at condition, just condition and bias. That's about all I see out of the screen. But it reminds me on the map where I am. So a lot of the lag is coming from the excess that's being run. When he's talking about time frames and footprint and Valtos as well, which kind of pisses me off that you can't lay anything on top of it, because I think that would be a really great service if we could put something overlaying on top of Valtos. I think that would really solve a lot of our issues. Yeah, Salty Gravy, he got about 10 fans on the outside of his box, and it still don't help that it smokes when it smokes. But either way, yeah, that's where we were having some problems. So we're really trying to be selective in what we can show, whether it would be something that will give you a picture. So hopefully this dashboard that I look at will be able to just kind of transfer over and it will make some sense to you. If not, I would really invite a lot of questions as how I use bands, because bands to me do not stand alone like anything else. So that's where we are at this point. Totally trying to evolve the channel so you can get some kind of information from what we see and hopefully invite other ideas as far as how you view it. Because I love a great argument, which turns into a great debate, which makes good friends as far as I'm concerned. So please bring it on.
Yeah, Morgan, I got bonds loaded up on a 5R, but man, I'm not going to say anything, but we're not getting those signals this time because we got so many charts running, and man, we get some real good signals with the Valto stuff. It's just we don't get alerts. We don't get alerts. If everybody in here who's running Valto's software, send them an email and say, hey man, put some alerts on this stuff.
Maybe he realized he has more than just an audience that's just educational. A lot of what you get out of Valtos, you will see if it's enough people talking, a lot of times that idea tends to come out in a TDU, which kind of disappoints me. But a lot of the ideas that Valtos will introduce tends to be transformed into a visual, which I'm a much better visual person. But those signals tend to be transformed into a visual on the TDU platforms. Look at that. That's ridiculous sometimes.
Yes,
some of the
Morgan,
stuff that comes.
Morgan, I see that signal, but I'm not taking no counter trades. I don't care how good it looks. I've been burned more times than not taking those counter trades, man. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. You can see I'm up 487 for the day. Do I really want to risk that 487 taking a counter trade?
Remember, the man called him a $500 a day trader. That's all he is.
I'm a proud $500 a day trader.
All right.
But yeah, I see those counter trades, and sometimes I'm like, damn, I could have took that trade, but hey, it is what it is. I have no problem in leaving a trade on the table, especially if it's a counter trade. I have no problem leaving it on the table. I'll leave it alone. Yes, the trend is your friend. That's my only trade. Say the trend is your friend. I used to didn't abide by that rule. Now I'm its best friend. That's why. And you go back to the daily. Notice the daily is an outside bar now. We're trending up. I'm not taking no counter trades. I don't care how much that short trade would have made. I'm too scared. Me and Magic play sounds at each other. Every once in a while, we play sounds for each other.
Hmm.
and we mess with each other like that, but yes, I am a chicken with short trades on a trending day up. What do you say, Morgan?
It's really not the fact that it's a great trade. It's really more about the scars and the bruises he's got all over his head.
Right. Exactly.
You just, after you've seen a couple of those that don't work out for you and you start looking at the odds, you say to yourself, I'd rather lose the way I think things are working out. If I'm going to lose, let me lose with the trend, which of course happens. There are other people now. Don't get me wrong. This is a psychological situation. This ain't a trading thing. So if you're trading, let's say, multiple contracts, I'm not even going to give you a number, but if you're exposing yourself to multiple contracts on a daily and then you like the short side of something, which is a counter trade 30% worth, trade 50% worth. In other words, lessen your exposure to the market, lessen your exposure through your targets. That's one way of actually dealing with this psychological thing, because that's what it is.
Your strategy
It's
has
a
to
psycho.
change. Yeah, your strategy has to
Your,
change knowing you're in a
yes,
counter trade. Yes.
you have to make yourself comfortable within that. If you realize that counter trades, if you're trading 20% counter trades during your career, if you just look over how many trades you might have in a month or in a week, if you're trading over 20% counter trades, you probably are going to get burned too much. You know, counter trades should be extremely selective, which is why sometimes there are situations that I will tell Top in a minute, yo man, I got to take this. I have to take this. You know, so it again, I call it a psychological thing. It ain't a trading thing though. Analytica just got some info a couple of transmissions ago talking about futures Analytica. He has his holy grail. That's kind of how I address that, because I don't know how much you've heard me on the trades talk about the holy grail. I think everybody's got one. It just ain't going to be the same. Mine ain't going to be the same as yours. And as soon as you find it, you'll know it, because it'll be high win-loss ratio, less exposure. You know when it's coming because it's yours, and that's what makes it a holy grail.
I like futures analytical. I like it.
I am the same way. Yes.
But
But that's his holy grail.
Right. And futures analytica, I want to say something about futures analytica. That guy is seeing stuff, and I said this before in one of my videos. He's seeing stuff that when you put on a trade, you got 100 different things going through your mind before you put that trade on. And he is seeing stuff that we're not seeing. And I don't know, I've seen enough videos of his where he's making money. I would like to see some live videos, and I haven't watched them lately, but I would like to see some live videos where he's, like today. I noticed today, me and Magic, we're doing pretty good today because we're walking you through trades and we're showing you and telling you why we are taking the trades. That's real important. Why are you taking the trades? What's on our mind when we put those trades on? And I would like to see that more out of him so I can understand exactly what's going on, because there's something about, a lot of people have fallen into this. I'm going to make everything automatic, or I'm going to turn it into a system and just, you think you're going to walk out the door and leave your robot on and that's that. No, it don't work like that. It don't work like that. A lot of times when you're trading those bots, you have to sit there and you have to control them. And sometimes some of those trades are going to be, you have to manually get out of a trade or, manually put on a trade. And he's close. Don't get me wrong. He's close. He's on to something. But for right now, get used to trading manually. And that way you'll understand why you're taking a trade, why you're getting in, or why you're getting out.
There's always been a saying in trading: 90% of the people lose money when they trade. And the highest reason is because they don't know how they lost it, which is meaning a lot of times they don't know why they did something. So the why is so important in realizing that this ain't exactly what it looks like. A lot of good traders usually use some sort of critical analysis while they are in a trade. They are actually managing not only the trade itself, but the condition of the trade. I got in for this reason, and if that reason holds, I stay in this trade. When that reason changes, wouldn't you like to know how that happens? So why is huge when it comes to trading. And this is just me personally. A black box system does not always reflect how you feel about any kind of condition. And that's where I call it his holy grail. He knows what he's looking for. This is where we started. He's looking at a lot of things that a black box system is just not going to explain to you.
Exactly.
You're not going to feel good when you lose that trade. He already feels fine because he knows the odds, he knows why he lost it, and he knows if he needs to adjust it. In fact, you may be still holding on to that trade when he looks at it and say, you know what, this ain't the same trade anymore. Let me get out here. That black box is not going to always reflect that critical thinking. So again, understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. And then if you lose your money, you understand why you lost your money. That creates a condition where you can correct it. I'm off my soapbox on this. You got me started again.
Very good day today, man. Very, very good day today, man. Very good day today. We did come out of it. We got down here in this fair value zone here, man. And the more and more, and I say this every time I see this happen, the more and more times I see the data or the bars go down into or go up into these fair value zones and turn around, the more I'm convinced about this fair value gap indicator. I love it. Love it.
You're welcome, man.
I turned you on to this. What you talking
You
about?
may have, but you put it in the you put it in the garage. I was looking for something in the garage and I found it. So you decided to use it again. That's what that was about.
I turned you on to this, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you did, but once I started with it, I never put it down. I never lost any faith in it because I'm gonna tell you something. It's another layer to a static zone meeting a dynamic zone, and that's really how I use them a lot of times.
Yep, you're right, Salty Gravy. You have to manage and monitor your trades since you're dealing with human interactions. That's right. Totally agree. Yes, only trades. But let me show you something about this gap. Let me show you something about this particular indicator. I think this guy is a programmer. This guy is a programmer, and this is called Gemify, and it's made by Gemify, and it's a fair value gap indicator, and it's a multi-time frame. So if you want to see a different gap on a different time frame, you can. That's what I like about this. You can change that time frame on that fair value gap to anything you want. Anything you want. And he has also some other options, and that's a free indicator. I also posted it on one of my also posted, hey, let me tell you something. I also posted on one of my videos. You say, why does ICT say he hates OrderFlow? Because he's thinking one-minded. And I don't know the guy, but you're going to come up with a mixture of your own chili, so to speak. You know, if you're going to, Magic likes looking at the order flow with Bollinger Bands. Never say never until you go through your history and you're looking at those charts and you say, you know what? I'm going to try this indicator with order flow or that. And I have yet to begun to dive in using indicators with order flow besides this fair value gap. And I think that's it. Magic uses Bollinger Bands. You got people out there. You got people out there with, all kinds of indicators. And I guarantee you, do your work. If you put it with order flow, you're going to find something that says, you know what? I like this because this is what I'm seeing. Whether you're looking at stochastics, MACD, whatever. Whatever out there, I guarantee you will find a signal that complements your order flow or your order flow that complements a signal when you're looking at those charts. Do not, and I'm going to repeat, do not take that option off your plate. See, you like chili with fried shrimp. I can't do that, man. perfect example. I'm not messing up. You ain't messing up my shrimp with no chili, man. What's wrong with
See,
you?
he can't take shrimp with order flow. That's the problem. See, that's exactly what my man was talking about when he said he didn't like order flow. That's all it is. The taste buds just don't feel the order flow.
And another
But I
reason,
guarantee you, though, if you showed him something where his theories were working in tandem with something overlaid, and you didn't tell him it was order flow in disguise.
that's exactly what I was getting ready to say. I guarantee you, if he knew, maybe order flow intimidates him, because if he knew how to look at those numbers, like me and Magic are looking at those numbers, it would complement what he's using. I totally agree with that, Magic. Totally agree.
FootPrint is nothing but another indicator. It's not an end all or be all, so to speak, chart. It's another indicator, just like everything else. And if you layer the right things or put, like you say, chili with shrimp, you're probably going to catch a few that like that, Hey, man, if your ingredients satisfy enough of your trades, then that's what you work with. And then everything that doesn't work with that, guess what? You know what? That's too much of that. I'm not going to put that in the recipe the next time. That's all this is. Putting together something that reflects you personally. So that's why we're really here. Not to develop you doing this way, but to gather some ideas as to, maybe I could try this here, or maybe I could try this here. So hopefully we can come up with some new ideas through a footprint eye that you can see that will help whatever it is you do. Don't want to change your trading. Just want to enhance whatever it is you do based on some ideas we may bring to you. Let's see, did we? No, we didn't get back down to tunnels on the lower time frame, and we turned up anyway. So nothing's really changed here, folks. Little oscillation, got a higher high and a lower low, which means we haven't really made a big decision which way we're going to go. And right now, cumulative is the star of the day. Cumulative being over 20K, it is a preponderance of the evidence that, you're probably going to have shallow pullbacks and greater moves to the upside, making higher highs. Just make sure that pattern continues. Elsewise, something else might be happening. So if you all of a sudden start seeing a structure breakdown, lower low, lower high, then you make the low that broke the low. Remember something, not the low, but the low that broke the low may be telling you a little bit more. Because right now it's going to take a lot to prove that the sellers are in any kind of control. You're going to have to lose half your cum delta. Think about it. You're still preponderantly 10,000 up, 10,000K to the upside. So it's a lot you may want to consider before you think about trend being changed. Not your quick darts to the downside, because like I said in the beginning as the start of the day, and it hasn't changed. You're looking at higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Some of the lows are going to be pushing a little harder, but in essence, we're using the bands a lot today just to prove the deep cuts in the downside. But every downside move we've had today has been absorbed by buyers. This is going to be an interesting high up here, though, I think. I'd like to see how they're going to handle, almost a triple top up here if we stop in this area right around the, what's that, 03 to 05 area. I'd like to see how that's going to get handled.
And yes, only trades. I almost went down the rabbit hole of using the TPO with order flow, but that was like a year or so ago. I think I remember it wasn't quite getting me the results that I wanted, and I switched off of it. But TPO, yeah, that's part of order flow too, because you're looking at volume at that point.
You're looking at volume. I could not get a rhythm on TPO.
I couldn't get a rhythm either. Yeah, I could not get a rhythm. That's why I didn't go down that rabbit hole.
And a lot of times your rhythm is very consistent on what type of trader you are and how you actually got into the game. Uh, it's funny. Top Step learned as a breakout trader, and I learned as a pullback trader. We argue with each other almost every day, at least when we're not online, about different types of trades, even though for years we didn't realize we're coming to the same conclusion. We're just entering earlier or later in the same thing.
The Cum Delta only trades. The Cum Delta is the aggressive buyers versus the aggressive sellers. It's the difference between aggressive buyers and aggressive sellers. And it also lets me know who's in charge for the day.
And it's anchored to the day, it's anchored to the session or the day, not
Exactly.
overall.
Not overall. It's the session. And that's and now that he brought that up, when you're looking at Valtos, and I sent him an email on it, I asked him if he could reset, or is there a way we have the option to reset the Cum Delta at the end of the day if we wanted to. Never got a response back on that. That's another story, but he don't answer emails. But yes, whereas his Cum Delta is the whole, I think his Cum Delta is however many bars you got loaded up on your chart. Whereas TDU, and that's what I like the option with Trade Devil's FootPrint, TDU uses, their reset is at the beginning of every session. That Cum Delta will start over. And if you notice, you go back to yesterday at 1800, somewhere around 1800, notice that Cum Delta started all over again, and it starts over at 204. It draws the lines and shows you where the day starts again. So that's how I'm reading the Cum Delta.
I got to throw in there, that you've been saying recently has been a holy grail. Recently has been lying to me for the last 4 or 5 days as we've done a lot of dropping. We've had a lot of people stepping in. Overall, Cum Delta has been up when we were down and down when we were up.
It plays some tricks on you.
It played all last week. It played a lot of tricks on it, developing a bias more than anything. That was the hardest part. You really had to pay attention more to structure, price structure, and footprint to give you a trade that you had confidence in, because a lot of times the trades you were taking was going against Cum.
Yep.
And that is very hard to do when you've developed a belief system.
Those days. Yep.
Yeah.
We've had quite a few of those days, and a lot of times those days I pay attention to what's swinging, but I don't like to trade on those days where the Cum is going one way and the Dow Jones is going the other. Those days are definitely happening.
Yeah, so you're dealing with correlation there more so than actual footprint, but all that should play into your trade. Nice pull back into that zone, bro. All of a sudden, the numbers started coming in on the bottom of the bars. Little simplistic ways of just looking at footprint on a general scale. Wow, all of the numbers are starting to be on the bottom. That's the KISS showing you the high volume numbers more so than anything. But all your volume bars started to show up where, you're minus 30, you're minus 590, and then all of a sudden you get that 781 with a couple of tricks on it, POC wave. That's kind of like, okay, that's a pullback. When do I go? And that's building up a case for you the whole time. Whether you believe it or not is that's the trick. But to kind of help that along, that fair value zone also gave you one more layer of a hint. Low volume, high volume. I tell you what, if you did not know the definition, say, Morgan, of a fair value gap, but you happen to every time you're doing your research, you notice that prices tended to fall in this area and react. You wouldn't care what it was made of, but it may very well be something you would use
And
just as a visual.
and right, visual. Sometimes people have a tendency to react more to visual than anything. If you can visually see it and see what's going on, they understand it a lot more. And I never looked at it that way. You're right, Morgan. That is a low volume node, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a what we used to when I learned to trade is what we called a push zone, which
Yep.
means no real. It's a big gap of no action
Right.
from a run.
And if you could sit there and look at a 12 range or 15 range and load a 5 minute, I'm gonna call it low volume node zone on your chart, or 15 minute or 10 minute, and it's doing something for you, do it. This is just a mixture of what we like. What you come up with out there, ladies and gentlemen, might be something totally different, but as long as it's complementing what you're doing.
If at some point during any of these transmissions you say to yourself, I never thought about that, our job is done. If I can get you to do that on a weekly basis, I'm going to feel even better. So hopefully that's what we're satisfying.
And I remember when Magic first started telling me about the Bollinger Bands, I tried, and I haven't done it lately. I probably would see something. I was more of a Keltner channel guy than a Bollinger Band. Magic can't stand the Keltner channels, but anyway. But anyway, I was more of a Keltner channel guy. So, you know, whatever indicator that you want to run on top of these footprints, that's on you. That's on you. Are we missing trades here, or are we not getting signals? What's going on here, man?
It just means you're comfortable and now you're ready to talk more trading and do trading.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's after 11:30. That's one thing. The markets have slowed to a degree that you feel like you can get your message across. You got a little money in your account today. So, yeah, I get it. I get it.
And you know, TDU. I think TDU does have a. I never use it though. I'm not a fan of the volume. The volume thing. Where is it at? Where is it at? Hold on. Let me get this straight. Absorption, fading, fat prints, imbalances, market sweeps, volume sequencing, summary table.
You're looking for the key to actually put onto
Profile. Yeah, profile is, you know, when you look back here and you look at the profile, yes, this is something a lot of people use the profile and looking for high volume nodes and low volume nodes and stuff. But I just, I couldn't take to it. I couldn't get with it. So, some of you guys might want to run the volume profile along with your order flow, whatever you see comfortable. If order flow intimidates you, what can I say? But don't let order flow intimidate you. Don't let all these numbers intimidate you. Because even though it looks like a whole bunch of numbers, I remember reading in a trading book, I forgot which book it was in, This is nothing but organized chaos. If you go up into, let's say, a train station and you're on an upper level and you look below, you see people going everywhere. They are going this way, that way, they're going everywhere. But guess what? Those people are headed to one particular direction. Organized chaos. That's what it is. Organized chaos. Don't let the order flow intimidate you. But yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't run the profile. I'm not a fan of profile at all. Not
I just wanted to throw a couple of things in there about LVN versus the HVNs for me. The way I was taught to distinguish the two is when you have a HVN, you're expecting a reaction when you get there. When you have an LVN, because of the way the market is situated, the market is one of these type of machines. It's well oiled, if you want to put it that way, but it's one of these machines that tends to correct itself. When there's no action or there's a big gap in something, and I think you've heard it explained before when you just see gaps with no action as far as price action, the market tends to correct itself. So LVNs are more of a magnet when you look at it from that respect. You expect to see that area at least filled. You don't know what the reaction is going to be. When you have a HVN, it's not necessarily a magnet, but when it gets there, that's where everybody remembers price was, and you tend to have a self-fulfilling prophecy, where you've got more people in this area, more action, more activity, that when it gets there, you are expecting a certain reaction. LVNs, you don't expect reaction. You expect it to be filled. So that's the distinct difference besides the obvious low volume, high volume. If that helps you kind of look at it from a perspective of a layman's head, that's how it was explained to me more. And the more I looked at it, the more I saw that that was the case. The problem with LVNs is it may take days to get there. It may take months to get there, or it could happen in the exact same day. But that was the difference that I noticed about LVNs. Very distinct, very subtle differences, but there is a difference between the two. How you use them is really what matters, which is what Top Step was relaying. You know, if that's one of those indicators that fit what you're doing personally, then by all means use it. But please bring it out, because guess what? I may go back and look at high volume and see, well, okay, how does this fit what I do? That's what the idea of this whole thing is. So, you know, might have a little more to report on that if I can do some research on it. Probably low on my priority list, because right now things are pretty settled, but like Valtos, I still will open up something new just to see how it works out in relationship to what I'm doing. And that's what we stress more than anything. Nobody changes the way they do it unless they're not satisfied with it. But if you're satisfied with how you're going about it, find something that might enhance it even more. Make a 70% winning strategy turn into a 73% winning strategy. That's where you're trying to go. More numbers. Some people like more painted pictures. So that's the difference in every trader. Launch points more than targets, I would say, Morgan K. As again, the HVNs tend to be those areas that you expect a type of reaction as opposed to the magnetization of them.
Is that a word?
Yeah, man, I just made it. Magnetization. 5 syllables, bro. We keeping that one.
I joke with him like that all the time. People, his mom's was a teacher. I can imagine his mom's going upside his head.
Okay. So, like I said before, higher high, lower low. That would be something called oscillation. And right now we can't seem to break either side of it. So this is one of those areas you may want to sit back and wait, or you may have some ideas of your own. Right now, this is one of these kind of conditions that I tend to wait on something that will tell me more. And for me, just in case you wondered or you're new to the channel, Bollinger Bands is just like Frank's hot sauce. I put that on everything.
That's funny.
Thank you, Salty. I appreciate that.
He even spelt it for you. He even spelt it for you. Is that supposed to be an S or a Z?
Hey, man, let the man spell it like he wants to since we getting the 5 syllables in, okay?
Yeah, we're kind of slowing up here. Seem to be going sideways a little.
New box, new box.
Yeah, if you guys got any questions, feel free to ask if we could possibly answer them. We'd be happy to answer them. But I think you guys are getting a lot of information out of this. A lot of information, especially the newcomers who don't know what to ask. Because I was telling Magic, I said, man, a lot of the new people, they don't know what to ask, so they're just taking in a lot of the information. But you can always rewind the video back, or just, we'd be happy to, just throw us an email if you got a personal question about what we're using or the templates and so forth like that. These are our own personal templates according to what we like to see. If you notice, I've added the words here. I got the ratio going off here, and this is ratio according to Mike Valto's calculation. I got when you go into the settings and you like to see instead of using just the arrows, the up and down arrows, when I go into the settings of the footprint, sometimes you might want to spell the word out. Sometimes you might want to put a symbol in, and you can put your own symbol in. And for those of you guys who didn't catch the trick last time, if you want to put your own symbol in, just press your window key. You have a window key on your keyboard, and press the period key. When you press the window key and the period key at the same time, a window pops up. A window pops up, and then you get all kinds of symbols and stuff that you can use instead of just words. And it just kind of takes the monotony out of it. It's not as boring, when you see that symbol pop up, whether the queen or the pawn or whatever. And you can replace that symbol with whatever you want to replace it with. The Windows key, you have a key with a Windows on it, and place and hit the period key, and that window pops up. Just a little trick that I learned just by doing it, just by messing around and looking up on the internet, seeing how can you replace those keys, because I don't think Trade Devil talks about that. That's just a little trick I use to put in my own symbols and so forth. No, I'm not pushing. Yeah. No, I don't have no referral codes. I'm not affiliated with nobody, and I should be. But I do this out of fun. I'm just doing this out of fun, and hopefully because it gets a lot of people off who don't know where to go when they're trading FootPrint, right? And somebody sent me a message, and they say they didn't know whether to buy Valto's FootPrint. Here's Valto's FootPrint, and there's a big difference in this recent FootPrint and the footprints he had out currently. Pay attention to this, very careful to this. With TDU, you get everything and the kitchen sink. But you have to know what you're looking for and what you want. With Valtos, I did notice with this new version that he put out, you're not going to be able to get Delta bars if you just want to get Delta bars. He took a lot of stuff out of this current FootPrint, and he's just selling the signals. And I get it. You know, you got people who just don't want to get all into the complicated matters of looking at a footprint. And he's what he's trying to do, he's trying to make it easier for you to just take the signals. Here's some of the signals I'm looking at. And, you know, you can take them or not take them, right? But if you buy Valto's FootPrint, you're getting the education along with it. You're getting the education along with it. With TDU's FootPrint, you get to select the signals that you want to see, and you can do that with Valto's. But you can I could change these to Delta bars and a couple other things. Hey, Morgan, I'm not. I don't get lag anymore, man.
I was trying to ignore Morgan. That's all right.
I don't get lag anymore, man. What are you talking about, man?
I'm gonna let him have it. That's all right.
But no,
my Pentium 3 is running like a thread ripper.
But yeah, with Trade Devil's FootPrint, you're gonna get you're gonna get more bang for your buck. You're gonna get more bang for your buck, but you're not gonna get the education that comes along with Valto's. Now, if you could buy TDU FootPrint and buy the Valto's education, you got it. You good to go. But that's you know, one of the major differences between TDU and Valto's. Valto's took the Delta prints off, and I guess he said people just want to see the signal, and he's probably right. But you got people who actually want to learn and know why certain things are going on. So I haven't loaded up CD yet, man. I'm gonna have to load it up, see what you guys are raving about. I'm gonna go find it and load it up and see what you guys are raving about. But right now, TDU, in my book, in my opinion, is the #1 footprint to be dealing with out there right now. For beginners, I know it's a lot, and I've said how to narrow those signals down. If you go back and watch one of those other videos, and the same thing you have to do with Valto stuff. You have to uncheck everything and go signal by signal and see what you like and what looks comfortable with you.
You know what, Morgan? I do not knock CD at all. In fact, I would venture to say you knew what the definition of an LVN and an HVN was. That makes you a little more advanced. And when you got CD, you probably knew exactly what you were looking for. That's a little bit different from a person that would get CD and has no idea what footprint nor trading. All right, I make this stipulation. Somebody that sits down in front of footprint knows very little about either side of that, would be quite intimidated with what you have in front of you, which is gold. So, you know, from our perspective, yeah, we're going to load up CD and we're going to see exactly what it's about. But we're going to understand exactly what's going on. But for the other person that we're trying to also reach, that might not be the best solution, because there's an educational aspect that needs to be present with footprint as well as trading, because I don't believe in cutting any corners. And I'll be honest with you, there's one side of Mike Valtos, excuse me, one side of Mike Valtos that has that same attitude. Learn this stuff first before you start trying to cut a corner. That's why he doesn't put on any visual stuff, and that's why he doesn't use alerts. He literally wants you to learn what footprint's all about. So believe me, hopefully we don't load up CD and say, yo fellas, we're going to be putting all this rest of this stuff aside, and we're going to be running CD for a while out. You will love that, and believe me, you will have a chance to eat all that gravy if that's what happens. But we will definitely take a look into your suggestion on that.
I don't know when Cherry Devil's going to come out with a new. He said he has some ideas for the upgrade footprint. I can't wait to see what he comes out with as far as the next upgrade. It's going to probably be real interesting. It's going to be very interesting.
And that is one of the other things also I got to say that I do like about TDU, in that their response time to what people want is really a quick turnaround. You know, if you say you want to see this, I've actually seen letters come in about certain things being debugged, or maybe this isn't measuring something the right way. They basically take a good look at that, and they will change it, you know, in their very next beta. They don't wait until the new version comes out. They'll throw a beta out there and say, is this what you want? So I do give them a lot of credit when it comes to response time.
Yeah, he did that with me within a day when I noticed.
Yeah, I wasn't going to tell them why everybody has your picture up on the wall. See, now you're getting ready to tell why you're an outlaw.
I don't know what I want to see in the upgrade. I surprise me. That's what I want. That's what I want to tell Trade Devil. Surprise me. But the signal.
My biggest thing is I'd like to be able to recognize, if I'm running a 12R bar and I have 13 levels of bid and ask, I'd like to be able to pick out the 6th level and hone in on it.
Yes, yes.
That's what I would like to have if I
Yes.
had an upgrade.
Yes. Being able to put those levels in an alert, which I know
Yes.
is crazy.
It sounds crazy, but I have a big idea of some of the things that I see inside of some of these bars. Audio alerts.
No, he's good with audio alerts.
I think he does real well, because everything that he instills, he gives you an opportunity to lay an audio alert on top of it.
Exactly. But yeah, Morgan, is CD showing you more than TDU?
He said it's very basic, but it's showing him what he wants, probably. I would think.
Okay.
Salty, CD is another footprint. This footprint is starting to become popular. So companies tend to respond when something becomes popular. I think somebody was talking about Analytica, makes software to sell. Well, yeah, I agree with that too. But yeah, it's one of those footprint programs that may fit you, may not.
But Futures Analytica, their footprint is catering to his bot. It's catering to his bot and what he wants to see. And that's the thing about footprint. You get 1,000, you sit down 100 people, not 1,000, but you sit down 100 people, and you're going to get 100 different things of what people are seeing. And that's what I'm interested in. That's why we decided to do this room, because I know there's more out there to seeing than what I'm just seeing or what Magic is just seeing. Yeah, that Futures Analytica footprint is it's not for, it could be for learning, but it's more so catering for him to run that bot on NASDAQ, E-mini, or whatever else he's running it on. So.
You have to believe that auto trade interface. That's the big thing about it. I think that's why, you have Chevys and Fords. I think everybody takes to something. So it's at least, not a one-horse race about things, and you do have some choices in how you go about learning. And believe me, I find this to be remarkable from where I started, because I've always told a tale of how I basically learned on a piece of graph paper and one line per day until it filled up the graph paper and I was able to see a trend. And then I had to decide what was I going to do with what I was looking at. So that's kind of where I started, where today, things move so much faster. You can see so much more. You're exposed to so much more. So I would expect the learning curve to have changed, but that's the one thing that didn't change. It still takes time to learn it. It doesn't mean you're going to learn to trade in 6 months. So you still got to do your homework no matter what. ATM and Ninja. We got a thing about ATMs, like Top Step was talking about. It's got to reflect your personality. Because a lot of times you feel like a nut and then sometimes you don't. So which ATM are you going to use?
I would be real interested in seeing I'm always interested in seeing how people set up their ATMs. Always interested in seeing how people set up their ATMs.
It's fun-only trades. I tell you, I probably have deleted more ATM strategies than you hardly have thought about yet.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Nothing seems to be perfect. I don't know what it is. There's never a perfection to it, because guess what? The move that you get doesn't act the same way, and I think that's what it's all about, So you can come close, but I have found that I like an ATM that doesn't move much. It moves in a safety type of way, and it allows you to manually reflect how you want to trail that stop. Because if you trail too close and it pulls back and it takes off again, you're not feeling good. If it pulls back, it's never perfect. That's really the point. But a lot of times you can critically trail much better, because you're actually seeing a price action formation in front of you. So based on the speed of the market, sometimes you've seen Top Step take a trade and the next thing you know, he's pulling his target out of the way. Because why? He sees more buyers coming in a bar. You're not going to know that until you're in the trade. So a lot of times, try to make an ATM that's reflective of what you'd like to see personally. And for yourself, if a trade normally goes 16 ticks and your runner starts getting to 18, 19, 20 ticks, you don't have to pull out your calculator, but it would be nice that you might get to that choke point and your ATM will reflect, okay, I want to start choking the trade at this point. So that's kind of, do it in a generality as opposed to a specific. I think that will help you at least get an ATM that will work for you. Because none of them are perfect.
The average run, and me and Magic came to this same conclusion, I think. The average run we usually see on a 12-hour or 15-hour, the average run we usually see is somewhere between 4 and 6 points. That's the average run and that's a good runner. That's a good runner. Magic has his target set at 4 points, and at one time, he wasn't taking nothing more. Nope, I hit my target, I'm done. 4 points, that's a lot. Mm-hmm. That's a lot. Me, that's why I always set my target outside, little ways outside. So, if you have to adjust it, you're playing jazz music. This is what you call jazz improvisation for some of you musicians. If you have to adjust it, just pull it in. Or if you see the bars running, move it away. You're just improvising on what you're seeing.
Now, full disclosure, that takes time to develop. I'm not going to lie. That does. Now, only trades, I see you have a comment here about 6-tick scalping. You're damn right. You better have an ATM working for you, just like that 6-tick scalp is working. That's a lot different, because yes, especially if you're in the NQ, you might be in for 2 seconds at most.
Whatever you're using, if you're using an eight, if you're looking at those charts, you cannot move faster than an ATM.
Exactly.
You can't do it. I have a friend of mine. He's a scalper. He's a four tick, 6 tick scalper, even 3 or 4 ticks sometimes. And I said, man, you need to set up an ATM. You cannot move fast enough, even if you keep your hand on the mouse. You're not moving fast enough. Only that ATM strategy can move the way you want it to move, as far as hitting
Right.
your targets and stops tightening up.
Only trades, that was my secondary target. My first target's always what my risk is, 1-to-1 basically. So that's why I don't like trading even number of contracts, because if I take a 2-lot and I make 12 ticks and then lose 12 ticks, I'm tired of I don't have enough trades. But if I take a 3-lot and I take 2 off at 10 or 12 and then lose 12, then it's not as hard taken, because I actually got lunch money on the trade. So my initial target is usually what my risk is, or 1.2 times my risk. And then at first I used to have a 4-point target, but what we've noticed is, like he said, based on 12R, 12 range, 15 range bars, we're normally looking at good trades running at least 5 to 6 points. And depending on how it's approaching that 5 or 6 points, you may want a little bit more. So a lot of that is developed through the critical thinking and management of the trade as you're moving along. We're just talking about the ATMs itself, though. They, like you said, if you're scalping, you definitely want an ATM to make those decisions for you. I can't think that quick, even if I had 50 years experience and I was 20 years old. So it's just not enough knowledge to move that fast. But when you're looking at a larger range of exposure, then you're also talking about having a little more time to make a decision.
Yeah, only trades. He goes in and scalps 3, 4 ticks, but for some reason, man, I can't. I'm not gonna mention his name. I can't get him to understand how fast that ATM manager moves. That's I don't even know if TradeStation's ATM moves that fast. I have never used TradeStations because I was manual trading when I had when I was using TradeStation. But I am very impressed with this this ATM module inside of the Ninja Trader platform. We are definitely going sideways.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
And guys, I think it's 12 noon. I think we're going to call it the day here. We had a pretty good day. You even got to see me make a mistake and get out of the trade and reverse it and hit my target like I want. I think I would have been up a couple more ticks if I'd took that trade instead of making that error. But anyway, we will see you guys tomorrow. Good luck. Have fun. And don't forget to hit the like button and continue to give us a little support here. We are not charging you anything. And we're just basically here just to chit chat about the footprint.
You have a good one, guys.
And
I'm signing out.
Talk to you guys